gentlemen, welcome back to the Registered Ranching Podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can notice that there are only two people here today, and one of those does not include Willie. So here in just a minute, you're going to find out who that is. But welcome back to the podcast. It is, what is today? May 14th, and a lot has happened since the last time that we have gotten together. A lot has happened, and a lot of things have happened on the ranch moving forward. Well, I guess we can just get right to it because I'm going to need to ask you some of these things. Welcome back to the podcast, Donnell Brown.
Hey, thank you, son. Glad to be back with you.
A couple of things. Well, a lot, like I said, a lot has happened at the ranch since we have had a podcast in general, but especially since the last time you've been on here. We have been, what are we, nearing the end of breeding season?
Well, we're through
we're
through the big first round of synchronized AI and embryo transfer. We've gone 2 heat cycles on our heifers, and so it's always a big time of year. It's great that we have estrus synchronization these days because, you know, I remember when I was growing up, in addition to walking uphill to school barefoot both ways in the snow, we heat check 9 months out of the year twice a day, 7 days a week, and now we can synchronize, breed all those cows in a really short period of time, and it just makes life so much easier.
Man, you had it tough.
Golly. It's just the way we did it.
You just had it, man, you had it hard.
You missed out.
Yeah, sounds like it. But what else? Willie, reason he's not here, he is bull riding in Utah up with the Frost Brothers right now, and just getting some tuning up on his deals. He continues riding. So it's kind of weird without it. This is the first episode without Willie.
Wow.
He is coming back.
Good.
So not like he's gone forever, but he's coming back. First episode with him. I also added to my family. Baby number 3, little Lila Grace, has entered the world. When was that? I'm going to need to remember this. It was the day after Cinco de Mayo. I remember because Carly did not want a Cinco de Mayo baby. So
except that was on Monday. Cinco de Mayo was on Monday, but at church on Sunday, she was thinking like, man, sooner would be better. Why did we wait until May the 6th?
Let's go ahead and have it. So baby was on May 6th, and all back home, all is good. Thanks for everybody who's reached out and asked questions and checked on us. Appreciate that. But a couple things.
She is precious.
Yes, she is.
And her sisters think she's okay. What's the status there?
Hey, big sister loves her.
Awesome.
Big sister says it all the time. Like she doesn't want to go to sleep because she just loves Lila too much.
Oh,
it's precious. Now.
And her dance recital was so special.
Oh, yeah.
And T-ball's going good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, becoming a. It's funny because some people will see on social media that I'm, not doing dad things that are different away from the ranch. And they're like, it's weird to see you not in a cowboy hat or not ranching outside of the social media life or what they see me as on social media. It's been good. But yeah, a couple things I thought we needed to talk about today. I feel like there's just a lot of good information that you and I have seen the past couple weeks, and then a lot going on with the cattle market that I think people should know about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we are at record high cattle market. Unbelievable how strong this cattle market is. Highest ever in history for all classes of cattle. And it's just amazing. Now, there's some volatility. It's up and down like markets typically do. Maybe a little more volatility than normal. But with all the great things that our current administration and the Trump administration is doing, making trade deals with China, making trade deals with Saudi Arabia, making trade deals with multiple European and other countries. I mean, they're coming to the table. The whole tariff deal is working. And I know I've got friends that were scared to death of these things were going to be bad. But I've got faith that Trump is going to get us to the finish line and have America in a much better place from a business perspective. And that's what seems to be showing up right now with these amazing markets that we have. And the great thing is, Tucker, I think what's really beneficial is even though beef is at the highest prices ever, customers continue to buy the product because they love the flavor.
Yeah.
They love the eating experience. And part of that is because we as cattle breeders Red and Black Angus breeders especially leading the charge on making beef better with more marbling, more cattle grading choice, upper premium choice, and prime at highest record levels of all, and moving faster that direction all the time.
More information on that too. We already have a low cattle inventory.
Yes.
And it appears that we may have an even shorter cattle inventory with some imports that have been closed off.
Oh, big time. New World Screwworm is a very, very serious situation, and I want everybody to hear that.
It is.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, New World Screwworm is a live flesh eating maggot, which is the larva of the screwworm fly. And so what it does is and we had it here in America in the late 60s and early 70s. And through the effort of a lot of people, the way to solve the problem is flies only mate one time. And so by creating sterile male flies in mass multitude, we put those out and continue to propagate and raise those sterile flies. Now, I don't know how you castrate a fly, but they figured out how to get a sterile male fly. Mates one time, the female doesn't mate again. She lays unfertilized eggs and doesn't propagate. So that's the way it stopped. It's still been that way. It's been stopped down in Central America, somewhere around Panama, where the land base is really narrow. So it was we could put up a barrier there with all of these flies. Panama has one of these places now. U.S. doesn't have one anymore because we haven't had issue with screwworms in a long time.
50 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So, but we pushed them all the way south. Panama has been able to keep them at bay. But now they've crossed up into southern Mexico at a much wider space from ocean to ocean. And as a result, it's harder to stop the mass migration of those flies. The other scary thing is we're entering hurricane season, and hurricanes can transport and move these flies in a major way. But the further north we go in Mexico, the wider the front that we have to try and hold and push those flies back. So thanks to Secretary Brooke Rollins, I got to see Secretary Rollins at our Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers meeting back in March. First time I'd seen her in a long time. We were in FFA together, and she's just doing a masterful job. But, man, she is committed to make sure that we get one of the, or she's been talking about getting one of these laboratories in Texas that will produce these sterile male flies so that we can continue to push these flies back further away from America. Because here's the concern. Let's talk about New World Screwworm, how it happens. Those flies lay an egg. Different than the normal flies we see here on a regular basis, that larva is a maggot, and in all other flies, it eats decaying flesh, manure, feed, that kind of stuff, and grows into a mature fly. That's the life cycle. Different is the New World Screwworm eats living flesh. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, let's say on the navel of a newborn calf, a newborn fawn, a newborn bunny rabbit,
lamb,
dog, cat, lamb, horse, any scratch that it gets, a castration,
ear tag
hole, any of that, it can lay, and then and here's the scary part, it also affects humans. So you think about babies sleeping outside, all right, and in Mexico, sleeping outside, sleeping on the porch, and a fly buzzes their nose and lays eggs, and those maggots migrate into their nasal cavity, eat their brain, and within 5 days, those babies are dead. And the baby can't tell you, oh, gosh, I've got something. You know, you just tell they're not happy. They're not well. But, I mean, that's the scary part. It affects all species of living animals, of mammals anyway. And Man, that's the concern. This is a real issue. This could be huge issue. So this past Sunday at 3 o'clock, the border shut down again for no more crossing of Mexican cattle into the United States, which I think is a great safety guard to help keep that problem down there. And, of course, our current administration has done a great job of stopping human migration as well.
Yep.
But like I say, somebody gets a cut on their arm. Let's say these illegal migrants coming across get a cut on their arm in southern Mexico on their way through here, and they get maggots, and they're growing, and then they hatch, and that's what can bring them up to the United States. It can be a real problem. And you think about how it can be spread through wildlife and all other things. So I think it's an issue that a lot of people really haven't understood the huge problem that New World Screwworm can provide. So I'm thankful. I know our feed yards are not liking it right now because it's cut off supply of feeder cattle.
Yeah,
they feed a lot of those cattle coming across the border, feed them here in the U.S. Because cattle numbers are low and feed yards need occupancy.
Right.
It's like a hotel. They don't make money if they're not occupied.
Right.
And so they really want those cattle. But, man, the safety and the health of all animals and the human species is critical. And that's where I'm really proud they shut the border down. But, that's part of what's making these prices go up again. And we need to grow. But anything else you want to stay on the screwworm? Because it really leads to about cow numbers and where we're headed relative to what the weather looks like.
Yeah, we had Buzzy on the podcast a number of months ago.
Oh, yeah, he talked about it.
And he talked about the screwworm. I don't know what medication they use to treat those cattle, but if you do want to hear,
it's not available today.
Okay,
I can tell you that.
Not available.
The Food and Drug Administration do not allow that product that was used back then. It stunk to high heavens. I mean, I was a little bitty boy, but like Buzzy said, that made some awesome horses because they had to rope and doctor. You think about these calves that
every
were
day
dehorned or castrated or the navel, and they had this. It was kind of an old honey molasses type salve that you kept in a jar, and you just
put it on it.
Put it on those areas of exposed flesh.
That's interesting. But if you do want to, you can hear more about it. I mean, about how those guys how much they had to rope, how many they had to doctor. And that was episode 8. You can go back to that Buzzy Thorpe podcast and listen to it. It's a good one besides the screwworm talk. Really good podcast to hear. What is he, 92?
I think Buzzy's 92. What a superhuman,
and
recognized one of the top cowboys in the country, and he's. I love hearing his stories.
Yeah. And so if it were to get to the United States, so we would have to produce. There would have to be some sort of medication produced, made, tested, which doesn't
for treatment.
Doesn't happen overnight.
That's right.
And then in a industry that is relatively short on labor. In agriculture, ranching especially, and short on the skill set of, that's every day worker's dream,
Sure.
Being able to go and doctor and calves every day. But for a rancher where inputs are higher than they've ever been before, adding another input that is, labor being the most expensive, adding more labor would be tough.
Oh, man. Yeah, it is so, the adverse challenges of what this could do. And I've talked to several veterinarians over the last 2 months and some are really not paying attention to it, but man, those that are really concerned.
Yeah.
Really concerned
Rightly so.
About the detriment that New World Screwworm could be to the United States and to Mexico as far as that goes. We need to keep it pushed back to that most narrow point so we can keep it out of our closest trading partner here in Texas with Mexico, and definitely keep it out of the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. That's all I have on screwworm. So that moves us to inventory.
Well, yeah. If we're talking about inventory, we're at low inventory. Our cattle production, the sustainability story that we're telling, it's amazing how we are doing more with less. Producing more beef with half as many cows as we had about 50 years ago. It's remarkable.
Well, half as many that we had 50 years ago?
I think that's the number.
Is it? I thought it was like the same. For a while, it was the same inventory that we had since the 70s. Now it's like the same that we've had since the 50s.
Yeah, we are. Which is
half of
70s
maybe.
is a lot. Was kind of the peak in cow numbers. But I'm probably talking. We need to probably search some details. Somebody that knows those facts better than I do, Tucker. Bottom line is we're producing more with less. That's the whole story.
Right.
We're producing more pounds of beef with fewer cows than ever before. Now, there's pros and cons to that. One, we're more efficient. We're producing more pounds of beef per animal, but we're also making cows bigger. And that's a concern of getting cows too big for our environment, because I still believe in the rules of cattle production. And rule number one is fit the cow to the environment.
Yeah.
And if we get them too big, and I'm not saying I want to go back to 1950 model belt buckle high cows. Okay, those aren't practical in today's world either. We can't produce near enough beef with those 1950 model cows.
Yep.
But and because we have the infrastructure, we can provide supplemental nutrition to complement the forages we grow on the ranch at an economical rate, especially in today's market. But there is a point of diminishing return when we get the cows too big that they don't fit the environment, even with economical supplementation.
Yeah.
And obviously, I want cows to do as much on their own. You talked about the labor a while ago. We want them to do as much on their own as we can. So that's where we've really made our mantra is cows that stay and steers that pay. And with that, I want conservative-sized cows, not too big, not too small, but like Goldilocks, just right, that are going to produce calves that grow really fast and grade really well to get that premium choice and prime beef that where we want to go. But as we talked cattle facts. Troy Applehans talked at the Hemphill County Beef Conference where I was recently.
That was the first one I missed in a long time.
I know, and that is such an amazing conference. 23 states represented.
Wow.
160 Texas counties, 3 foreign countries, 865 people registered for the Hemphill County Beef Conference in Canadian Texas.
Town of 3,500 or so?
Yeah, I mean, a little bitty place, and, they fill up all the hotels within about a 50-mile radius.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Andy Holloway does a great job of putting together a super program on the last Tuesday and Wednesday of April every year. And, they had Cattle Facts there, such a well-known and well-respected cattle market analysis company. We've been members of Cattle Facts for decades now. And, they said it looks like, all right, we remember, let's think about inventory in the markets.
I did, on inventory, I looked up, we're at just under 28 million head of beef cows.
Okay.
And so where that fits between 50s and 70s, I'm not sure, but I know it's a lot less than we've had in a long time.
Right. But we're producing just as much, if not more, beef than ever before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's more beef.
Yeah.
60% less head, 40% more beef.
And the wonderful thing is you look back from 2010 to today, 15 years, we've gone from averaging 55% choice and prime, just over 55% for a long time.
Choice and prime?
Choice and prime combined.
Wow.
To now almost 85% choice and prime.
Yeah.
And let's just talk prime, the premium beef. And, man, if you hadn't had a prime steak, go get some prime steak because it is awesome. Nearly everything you're selling, Tucker Brown's prime steak.
Yeah.
Get you some of that because the flavor is amazing. All the research that's been done, premium choice, that's average choice and upper two-thirds choice, high choice, is like a 95% satisfaction rating, where prime is 99%. I mean, you just don't hardly ever have a bad experience with a prime steak.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, in those same 15 years, we've gone from about 3% prime or a little under to now at 12% prime. Last week, we were over 12% prime.
Wow.
So it is huge. It's wonderful. Those are highly heritable traits. Marbling, carcass traits are, and we're just going to keep making it better. And what I love about it is I don't see any adverse effects to more marbling. Some traits, for example, bigger carcass weight, has a negative correlated trait in that it makes bigger cows that cost more to feed. But more marbling, I don't know of anything that is negative to having more marbling.
I've got a pushback.
All right, talk to me.
I'm going to put you in the Ag Gear hot seat for this.
Oh, I got my Ag Gear shirt on, man. I'm cool and ready.
Yeah, I know.
I even put my straw hat on today.
I feel like you're ready for it.
97 degrees when I walked in here a while ago.
Second day of the year to hit 100 degrees.
Yep.
So welcome to the Ag Gear Hot Seat. You ought to be wearing, thanks for wearing Ag Gear. in this.
Absolutely.
But if you haven't worn Ag Gear yet, you should, because I've been wearing it for 4 years now. And I've never sat in a hot seat since then.
They are cool.
Use code Tucker Brown, get 15% off at aggear.com. Check it out. So the hot seat, a little pushback on is there a pushback to marbling? So
Okay.
what would you say is the pushback to Wagyu? If the Wagyu Akaushi is extreme marbling,
Yep.
and we see pushback from the breeds on their productivity.
Right. So here's what we're seeing, and we sampled some of the Japanese beef genetics for 5 years.
Yeah.
In our carcass test herd, and what we found is that our red Angus out-marbled the Japanese genetics, and that excited me. And our black Angus was close, Sim Angus. So, I mean, I thought, and the reason we plugged them into our carcass test is because I wanted to add significantly more marbling in a planned crossbreeding system with just a little bit of the Japanese genetics. Let's talk about the downside. There is no perfect breed. Every breed has strengths. Every breed has weaknesses. One of the challenges with the Japanese cattle is they don't have a lot of muscle, and they take a long time to get to finish. So, yes, I can get them to a higher grade of marbling well above prime, which does actually get some consumer pushback by some that say, it's just a little too much greasiness, a little too much marbling. Now, I like it. It's really good. But some say, hey, prime is perfect.
Yeah.
Prime's right where it's at. So, Wagyu's growing right now. They're adding more marbling to some breeds and cattle that really need it.
Yeah.
I think that's all good stuff. But we're going to keep rocking and rolling with red and black Angus and Sim Angus because I'm able to get those cattle to grade in a much shorter period of time. I can cut 100 days off the feeding period and have, with Angus, red Angus, and Sim Angus, have just as much marbling and save a whole lot of dollars in feed, a whole lot of productivity, a lot less carbon footprint, less methane emissions, all of those things. Let's be more efficient. Let's produce more with less. And because these carcass traits are so highly heritable, we can get there faster. Now, 20 years ago, would I say Angus and red Angus could marble with Japanese genetics? I'd say, probably not. But as conventional fed, we can do it today. There's no doubt in my mind. Our data validates that. If you long feed them, will the Japanese cattle get above prime? Yes, they're bred to do that. I just don't want to go with the inefficiency of feeding them for such a long period of time. When you look at it from a profit
number to it for those who may not know.
Sure.
How long is a long time feeding?
Well, I'm going to say normal days on feed today are probably 180 days on feed, and some of those cattle are on feed for over a year.
Some of the Wagyu.
Some of the Wagyu cattle, Akaushi cattle, the Japanese genetics on feed
400 days.
For 300 to 400 days. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I've got friends in Australia that have been feeding a lot of them. Last time I was over there in 99, they were feeding a lot of them. But gosh, it just takes such a long time to get them there. But I mean, there is a market, okay, and that
no doubt
that Wagyu Akaushi beef sells really high. The flavor is awesome. I love the Akaushi beef especially.
Yep.
I've had
but
more of
that's
that.
Why they have to charge so much.
And they have to charge so much because they have so much cost in it.
Yes.
So I'm about let's do more with less, and that's why we started Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance. We started that 4 years ago now, and I've got some great news. We can postpone that till a little later in the broadcast, but I've got some really exciting news about RSAA that I couldn't share last time, that right there in the early March, but I can share that. But before we go there, let's go back to talking about carcass, talking about marbling. I don't know of an adverse effect to more marbling. Let's think about it. What is marbling? Marbling is stored energy.
Yeah.
Okay, it's adipose tissue. It's fat, flakes of fat inside the muscle. My goal is to convert waste fat that we trim off the outside of the carcass and put into hamburger, grind it with lean beef, put with hamburger. My goal is to reduce that while increasing marbling so that I keep the same amount of stored energy that the cow needs through the winter, not only for insulation. We can't take all of it off the outside because they need some, not only in the pasture but also in the freezer when we cool those carcasses. They need a certain level of insulation to protect that meat. But if I can reduce some of that we trim off and sell as our cheapest product, even though we do sell a lot of hamburger and it tastes great, it's wonderful to have it. But if I can sell more prime steaks and have less fat to trim off, that to me is a great trade-off. Mm-hmm. But we still need to keep stored energy in the cow, and so if I can increase marbling, then I can do that. Now, let's talk about the economics. You brought that up a while ago. Let's say we get to a point where corn is twice as high as it is today. And someday that will happen again.
Yeah.
It's happened before. When that happens, cattle feeders say, man, I can't afford to feed them through those last 30 days of the least efficient gain because they're mainly putting on external fat and marbling. But fat weighs a lot less than muscle. And the feed conversion per pound is not near as good. So what we can do is we can get cattle to grade above prime with the genetics. Let's manage them with fewer days, more efficient days on feed, cut off 30 days of the least efficient gain, and still have them grade premium, choice, and prime. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is the answer.
Yeah. And it'll I mean, like you said, droughts have happened before.
Yep.
We know the market is pretty volatile. I mean, just a year ago, corn was maybe not double, but $5-6
higher than it is today. Yeah.
Definitely higher than it is today. And another part of I got to go to the, what's the right word?
Roundtable for Sustainable Beef. Right? Yep. That's where you went? Thanks for going to that, by the way.
Yeah,
I was at
great.
Hemphill County and I couldn't go. I was really glad that you went. Tell me more about it.
Well, it was cool for me because most of the time when we go to a convention, it is like full of cattlemen. And I can't say that was the case at the U.S. Sustainable Roundtable for
Sustainable Beef.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was like when you go to Hemphill, you're surrounded by cowboys and cattlemen, feeders. I mean, the whole shebang.
Yep.
And then I feel like this was more of the actual beef industry rather than the cattle industry.
Oh, good point.
And
all of which are tied together, but
yeah,
some of us wear boots, some don't.
Some got dirt on them, some don't.
That's a good point.
And so, yeah, that was really cool for me because I got to see a completely different perspective. You know, the end rather than the beginning of the chain, I got to see the end of the chain and what they look for. And, you know, you had people representing McDonald's. You had people representing government agencies, colleges that are doing research on different proteins in beef. And, I mean, it was more than people were representing more than just beef there. There was other representation there. But, you know, companies that are buying beef. There was McDonald's. There was Costco. There was you can name a lot more places like that. So it was interesting to see that side. The conversations were very similar. The problems we're talking about the same problems just from a different perspective. It felt
like supply and demand and things like that, and prices,
like supply and demand and what the consumer wants, and you know how they can, you know, where can they get their dollar when the consumer says they want it but they don't pay for it. Mm-hmm. As in, they say when you ask them, they want it to be sustainable, but when it comes to the dollar and where they spend it, if there was one that said sustainably raised and one that didn't, and it was cheaper, they were going to buy the cheaper one. And so how can they represent...
At a certain price point.
At a certain price point. And so they're trying to figure out how important is this? Will it become more important for our consumer? Will they start paying for it? Can we be, you know, the spearhead on that or not? So, yeah. And then it was cool because they did bring in some ranchers to tell our side of it, talking about grazing plans, talking about the carbon footprint. There was way more talk of that than there was... of the carbon footprint, obviously, than anything else. Because when you talk about sustainability, that's a large piece of it coming from the consumer. But one thing they said that stuck to me the whole time was that, you talk about being able to do more with less. And to put that into perspective, seeing the number, like we are losing rangeland. We're losing farmland every day. And in Texas, it's over 1,000 acres per day
Wow.
that we're losing in farmland.
But where's it? We're losing it to what?
Losing it to urbanization.
Urbanization. Urban sprawl.
Urban sprawl.
People.
Losing it to people building to concrete.
Yeah.
And I heard it said.
Concrete, asphalt, and houses.
I heard it said from, I don't know where he heard it, but Hunter Horn, who I went on YCC with in Florida, he said the last crop to ever be planted is concrete.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, ooh,
Well said.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so that,
Well, I like the sound of it. I don't like the reality of it.
Yeah, I don't
because
like the
it's
reality.
taking good, productive land out of production and into urbanization. But we can't change it. It's a fact. It's a reality. It's happening. We've just got to learn to be more efficient.
Right.
To produce more with less, because as our growing global population increases in both life expectancy and population, we got to be able to still feed all those mouths.
Yeah. Yeah, and so losing 1,000, I mean, you can say, oh, yeah, we're losing some, but when you put a number to it, it becomes more real to me.
1,000 acres per day.
Over 1,000 acres a day. I mean, it was like 1,047 something.
Out of food production.
Yeah, out of food production. Out of grazing land or out of farmland.
Wow.
So that was definitely one of the talks that I was like, whoa, write that one down. I like that. I mean, I don't like it, but I like the number and hearing it. So that was really cool. Also, they did one of the coolest things at the convention that I think would be really good for other conventions.
Oh.
They did part of getting everyone together, I don't know, I feel like most of the business is done after the meetings, after.
Sure, it's in the hallways and in the byways. Yeah.
Right. And so
outside of the meeting.
Outside of the meeting. They do a good job. They call it casino night.
Okay.
And they bring in a bunch of dice tables, they bring in a bunch of card tables, and they had these gifts that were now I'm mixing these two things up because this was not at the U.S. Roundtable. This was at the same place the week before when I spoke at Texas Grain and Feed Association.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you went there. Yeah, come on, get your story straight, man.
Still, they did.
All right, tell
Texas
us about
Grain and
that.
Feed. Speaking there was really great. I got to talk about how I use social media, connecting with our consumer, growing your business, using social media, things like that. So let me clear the air there. They did one of the coolest
do you have a
things.
new baby?
Yeah.
It's been a little
Am I
short at your
sleeping?
house.
What day is it? They did casino night. They brought in card tables. They brought in dice tables. And so it kept everybody at the convention, even though it was over. Like the meetings were over, but they kept everyone there. They offered drinks, and you got to play with a fake $5,000. And there were these prizes that you could win. And so for every $1,000, fake $1,000 that you won or had at the end was worth a ticket. And you would put a ticket in whatever box you wanted to try to win the prize.
Okay.
And so it kept people around.
Ah.
Got to meet and talk to a few, people that you probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Right, right.
And then they allowed, after that, they had a dance and talk. So you met all these people that you probably wouldn't have before, and then they send you to another social to where you can either, that was good, I don't have any business talking with them anymore, or you can hash that out and keep doing business. So I thought that was
You've
really
been on the road a lot speaking lately. Didn't you go to Oklahoma?
Went to Oklahoma, Tri-County Cattlemen's, talked there. That was neat. There was a lot of, they had 6 inches of rain that morning.
Whoa.
Speaking of rain, they had 6 inches of rain that morning and were flooding, and some people couldn't get there because the bridges were being washed out. It was wild, but still it was just so cool. Anytime a lot of cattlemen get together, it's a good place to be. So, yeah, it took us down a rabbit hole there that I didn't really mean to. But
That's all right. U.S. Roundtable. That leads us a little bit, and we're not going to mention names of who you talked with there, because I went to the annual meat conference in Florida, and wow, was that amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, to meet with so many of the people beyond beyond where the cattle leave the ranch, with packers, with purveyors, with retailers, with food service people. It was amazing. Kind of like the round table for sustainable beef, But this was all about marketing meat of all kinds. And boy, sustainability was the word of the convention. They had a big trade show, and the majority of the booths had something about sustainably raised or any of that kind of stuff. But be able to meet and talk to some of these food service people, with retailers, people wanting consistent, high-quality beef, that's been a big deal. And at U.S. Roundtable, on behalf of Ranchers Sustainable Angus, you met with some folks there and talked a little bit more on the retail side. Is that right?
Yeah, we did. It was really cool because neither of us knew each other's problems.
Right.
But we both wanted the same thing. So it was really neat because we both it was like we realized we were both quote unquote experts in our field. We told each other what we wanted. We filled in the gaps of where our expertise was, and see if we can make something happen of allowing Rancher Sustainable Angus to be something that can be, where can it be? Could it be in a storefront? Could it be at a certain place in America? Mm-hmm. Can it be big enough to be a game changer?
Right. And I sure think so. I'm sitting here looking for, maybe we can put it up on the screen. I'm looking for our press release. But Ranchers Sustainable Angus, we went public. So Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance is our product, and we are buying calves. So if you have calves from our genetics that you want to sell, we can forward contract those calves for later delivery this summer or even this fall, even next winter. We can reach way out there. And so we've got feed yards. We've got a feed yard partner that's going to be feeding these cattle. They will buy the cattle outright, or they will partner.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you want to retain full interest, you can. If you want to retain 25%, 50%, 75%, any of those levels, you can partner with our feed yard partner on your cattle. My brother-in-law, Todd McCartney's got the first set of cattle on feed there. And Kevin Busher, Kevin and Jonna sold 5 loads this past week. And so we're just getting started. I mean, we hadn't even talked about until this moment right now, talked about really publicly, we're ready to buy cattle. But if you got cattle you want to sell, let us know. They need to be weaned at least 45 days.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Let's talk about the specs.
Yeah, for somebody who's like, oh, I want in on this. Yeah. I want the most I can get for my calves. Can Rancher Sustainable Angus pay me for what my calves are worth? What do they have to have in order for Rancher Sustainable Angus to be interested?
All right, so Rancher Sustainable Angus is a group of 9 seed stock producers. So it's not just like 44 Farms, even though it has a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the similarities to our friends at 44 Farms. They've done a great job of selling Prime Pursuits and the beef from 44 Farms Genetics.
Great job.
And so really proud of them and that crew. So we're following suit in that we want to buy calves from our genetics, but not just R.A. Brown Ranch. In addition to R.A. Brown Ranch, we're talking about Weedle Beef Genetics in Kansas. We're talking about Lundgren Angus in Kansas. We're talking about Mushrush Angus in Kansas. We're talking about 5L Red Angus in Montana. We're talking about Becton Stock Farms in Wyoming. And we're talking about Blue Partnership in Kansas. So those are, let's see, Bridgeport, Nebraska is going to be Butch Schuler, and then Leachman Cattle in Wyoming, Colorado.
Yep.
So those are the 9 of us right now. The cool part is we've got the capability to, our customers together right now produce about 120,000 head of calves a year. And that's about the number that we need. And we also have 2 other really good customers that produce a huge number of cattle that we're going to be partnering up with as well. And just to make sure we've got the quantity of cattle that we need. But so if you buy our genetics or one from one of those 9 people that I just mentioned, calves need to be good, have a good vaccination program, need to be weaned at least 45 days so that they have a smooth, healthy transition from your place into the feed yard.
Yeah.
And then, so we're going to bid as much as we can bid for the cattle. And we are working on a system to share carcass premiums back. So if you sell 100% of your calf crop, we're looking at a way to share premiums down back to the producer depending on how well those cattle, how healthy they stayed in the feed yard, how efficient they gained. And a lot of our group right now is doing feed efficiency testing on all our genetics. And so the other thing is beef quality assurance. Need to be BQA certified. Real easy to do. You can get on the website, just Google BQA, beef quality assurance. For free, you can get online, go about a 2 or 3 hour class, and become BQA certified. Everybody needs to be. It's just about raising cattle right. It's about taking care of vaccines. It's taking about withdrawals. It's taking about where we give the shots. All the things about being good stewards of the cattle.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with Ranchers Sustainable Angus, and we're buying cattle right now and are excited about that and where we're headed.
That is exciting.
We're still working on the final details with Packer partners to help us on that side of the business, and multiple retailers to sell Ranchers Sustainable Angus beef. So what is Ranchers Sustainable Angus? It's premium choice and prime from superior genetics that are raised right. So it's quality genetics with the story behind the people that are raising the steaks, literally. About how we're taking care of the land and taking care of the natural resources, taking care of the animals. Telling the story of what so many people are doing right now.
Yeah.
We just need to tell the story.
Right.
And we're going to continue to make it better as we get better with grazing and regenerative land practices to improve soil health and improve water quality and all of those things that help us be better stewards of the land and the livestock. So 4 years, it's been a long road coming.
It has.
But we're excited. We're glad to be buying cattle. So right now, if you want to sell calves, you want to sell a quarter interest, a half interest, or 3/4 interest, we'd be game to partner up with you. And with that, you also get full carcass data back on every calf.
That's valuable.
That's valuable. And that, we can help you select bulls that are going to make your calves even more valuable moving forward. So you get feedlot performance on the group. You get individual feed carcass data back on every animal to help you make better beef.
How, so if they are interested, I feel like a lot of people are kind of scratching their head, got their arms crossed, kind of like I do right now. Interested in it, who do they call?
Well, they can call me. All right, they can call me at R.A. Brown Ranch, and they can call C.J. Blue, the president of RSAA. C.J. is out of Kansas. We have a website. You can contact us through the Ranchers Sustainable Angus website.
There you go.
So those are the 3 ways right now. Blake Angel with Lundgren Angus in Kansas. Worked 17 years for Meyer Natural Angus Beef. And so really glad to have him on board here with our team. It's a wonderful group of strong breeders. And we don't care what color of Angus is. All right, we don't care what the outside of the hide is, because when we pull the hide off, that beautiful red meat with amazing marbling is all the same color.
Yep.
And that's what it's about, is these cattle need to be half Angus, and they can be sired by a red Angus bull, a black Angus bull, a Sim-Angus bull out of an Angus hybrid, or an straight Angus cow. All of those fit. And, certified Angus beef is the one that really has been the most successful marketing program in the history of the breed.
Ever.
Oh, ever. John
the beef
Sticka,
industry.
in the whole history of the beef industry. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, John Sticka has been there 19 years now at CAB. He's been the president for many of those years. Bruce Cobb, who I grew up with there at Worcester, Ohio, at CAB headquarters. And anyway, I had a great visit with John. John was one of the key speakers at the Hemphill County Beef Conference. Had a great visit with him, and he was like, I'm so glad to hear about Ranchers Sustainable Angus. Let's stay in touch. Glad you got things going the right direction. So, I appreciate that so much, because we're not trying to be a competitor to certified Angus beef. We want to help high-quality Angus genetics sell for more money.
Yeah.
We want to put more dollars in the pockets of producers, because the consumer looks at it and says, wow, this is better beef. I want to go back, because it's more than just a great product. But the families feel good about eating it when they hear the sustainability story behind the steaks.
That's cool. Feels like it's kind of weird to say that it's going.
I know. We've been working on it for so long.
Yeah. What do you think? I welcome you to one of my favorite segments.
Okay.
Bedrock tough question.
Ah,
Yeah, Bedrock being some of the toughest truck beds there are. That's why we use them. That's why we've got them on 2 of our trucks. So check them out, Bedrock truck beds. That's what this sign is right here. Tough as a mammoth. That's what they got the mammoth there for.
got it.
So, what is the? What do you think the toughest thing about this process is going to be now that RSAA is buying cattle? Now that they're going to have cattle in the yard, dollar spending. What do you think the toughest thing's going to be with everything that's going on?
Right. Well, that is a hot seat question, tough question of the day. And here are the challenges. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
True.
All right. Different than certified Angus beef, ours goes traceability all the way back to the producer of the cattle and the seed stock producing the genetics of those cattle. So that's one thing. It's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot of work for the producer. It's a lot of work for Ranchers Sustainable Angus to track all of that. Okay. And where CAB, I mean, a calf, as long as it's black and doesn't look like a Brahman or a Holstein, it can qualify for certified Angus beef. So it's a cooler sort. You know, if they come when they come into the packing plant, if they're 51% black-hided, it doesn't matter what percent Angus they are, if any.
Yeah.
They get an edible ink stamp on the top of the carcass that says A for Angus. Then they chill that for 24 to 48 hours, and then when they split that carcass right on the ribeye muscle, on the ribeye steak between the last 2 ribs, and if it grades premium choice or prime, then it qualifies for CAB.
In the top 2/3?
It's upper 2/3. Yeah, it's upper 2/3 choice and prime. And so with that, man, it's a cooler sort.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how much Angus. Now, as I remember going to CAB headquarters back in 1997 and seeing on the wall in the foyer when I walked in the #1 goal of certified Angus beef. You know what it was?
I do, because I went there last year.
Oh, that's right. You did go on the YCC trip, Young Cattlemen's Conference.
Yeah.
To sell more Angus genetics.
Uh-huh.
Which I translated into sell more Angus bulls.
Yeah.
And man, has it been successful. Now,
yes, it has.
Over 70% of all bulls in the United States are black Angus. And then you add another pretty good chunk of red Angus. I mean, there's a lot. And then a lot more that are Angus hybrids, be it Brangus, Sim-Angus, Balancer, so many different Angus hybrids. I mean, Angus is the dominant breed of choice and prime today because of the success of that program. Now, I told them then we need to do a genetic source back in 97. We need to do a genetically sourced program, not just a hide color. But they did it because it was simple and easy. And there's no doubt what we're learning, the simpler and easier we keep the specs, the easier it is. So the hardest part for us is to get 52 weeks supply of 2,400 head of cattle per week, harvested on one day at a packing plant, so that beef can all be packaged the same and go to our retail and food service partners as Ranchers Sustainable Angus, so that we can verify that's what that is. That's a lot easier said than done. And so, trying to get these cattle bought with enough age variance so that we can fill a 52-week supply, that's our biggest challenge right now. Right now in this market is just getting them bought. Because, man, the prices are so amazing.
Yes.
And, hey, would we like to buy them direct? Absolutely. If you want to sell them through a Superior Livestock Auction, hey, we'll bid on them on Superior. If you want to sell them through a livestock market, we'll bid on them there. If you want to sell them straight off the ranch, we'll bid on them whatever way, and there's pros and cons to each.
Sure.
But we want to get our hands on those cattle so that we can fill that 52-week supply. That's going to be our biggest hurdle, no doubt. You've seen it in your program, Tucker, in selling beef, going from 3 carcasses a month or to triple that or quadruple that. That's a big jump.
Yes.
And go from there to 2,300 a week.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
And in one of the meetings that we had at the round table deal, there's a guy who made a statement that I'd never really thought about, of how there's ranches that have you know, what do some of the biggest ranches in the United States, you know, they have 100,000 head or so.
Yeah.
And whenever what I say earlier, the inventory is at almost 30 million. And so even the largest player in the game, some of the largest players in the game don't have I don't even know what percent that is of the cow herd. But
Tiny
it's
percent.
so small.
Yeah.
So the largest players in the game don't have a large foothold on the inventory of cattle. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I'd never put that together.
And when you take the average cow herd size in the United States being
30
to 40 head.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the average. And it's hard, but that's what a lot of people are. And so, you know, the economies of scale with ranchers that have 300 cows and more, it's a whole lot easier to put those loads together. Mm-hmm. And I hate that it's that way because we like to work with all producers. I mean, we sell bulls to all sizes of producers.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt there are some economies of scale that are hard to beat.
Sure.
When it comes to getting the quantity of cattle that we need every week of the year.
Right. Anyway, that's exciting. So, was there a market talk at Hemphill?
Yes. So let's circle back around to Hemphill County Beef Conference. So Troy Applehans with Cattle Facts, and that goes back to that supply deal. So let's look back at that really peak in the market in 15, 16. Mm-hmm. We as we look back on that, okay, we were coming out of drought 11, 12, and 13. Mm-hmm. Severe drought over a big part of the country. Cow numbers were down because people had to sell cows because they didn't have enough grass or, like us, water.
Yep.
So there were a lot fewer cows with those calves going to market in 15 and 16. And but we also have to remember that pork and poultry had disease issues at that time. So competing meat industries, protein industries, also were really low in quantity at that time. So the prices really peaked. Pork and poultry rebounded a lot faster than what cattle can, but cattle rebounded faster than people thought. And the market came back down a lot faster than they thought. Mm-hmm. So Cattle Facts, Darrell Peel at Oklahoma State, economists at Texas A&M are all telling us that this market is now higher than 2015 and 16.
Yes.
And it's staying higher for a longer period of time, and they anticipate that it is going to stay longer for a longer period of time and not drop down so fast. One, because of lingering dry weather, lingering drought that's not allowing people to rebuild cow inventory on their ranches as quickly as we would all like at these prices. We'd love to have more calves to sell. Yeah. But we got to take care of the land first. Take care of those natural resources, and they'll take care of us. The other thing is, a lot of people have those memories of buying really high-priced bred heifers or keeping really high-priced heifer calves in 15 and 16, and those cows never paid for themselves because the market dropped so quick. Yeah. Our memories still, we remember those things.
Yeah.
So
buying a $5,000 heifer to sell
you just couldn't have enough calves to pay for herself because the market went back down. So, you know, all things considered, where we are with the Trump administration, I'm excited about where we are and the focus on safe food and making America great again. I think we've got a bright future ahead. Now, weather forecast at Hemphill County, and that was Mike was talking about, Matt Makins. Yeah, Matt Makins was talking about that, who also works for Cattle Facts. Mm-hmm. And Matt did a great job. And, you know, he's saying, as much as we would all love to get back to higher rainfall levels like we've had the last 45 days.
Yes.
I mean,
unreal.
Brown, when you look at the rain we've had in Throckmorton from April 1 to May 5th, 18 inches of rain in Throckmorton County.
We had more rain in that time period than we did the whole year of 2011.
Yeah. I mean, that's remarkable. And there's more grass growing and tanks are running around. And, I mean, we are blessed, but this too will change.
It will.
I mean, some of the forecasts I look at, long-range weather, showing that, you know, we can kind of expect in this north-central Texas and West Texas area to be about 30% below normal through the rest of the year. The good thing was they were showing us to be 30% below normal for April and May.
True.
As well. But I will tell you, it's another reason to buy PRF insurance. Now, I'm not here to sell it. I don't sell it. But pasture, range, and forage insurance. I got our first notification yesterday for the first payment we had for the January and February timeframe. And we have a 30% return on investment already in just the first payment.
Wow.
Just the first 2 months. And we're going to get another one for we had half the ranch in one series and half the ranch in the other. So I've got another half of the ranch in a big segment for February, March.
Yeah.
But man, that has been huge in those times where, I mean, we're cutting silage right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not making near as much silage because we didn't get that rain. Yeah, we're growing a lot of grass right now, but we didn't get the rain when the wheat needed it in December, January, February. So we're cutting a lot less. And I mean, it's going on, right? The trucks are out there right now. We're packing silage. We're even having to add water to it because with the rain we've had in the last 2.5 weeks when we'd normally be cutting silage.
We couldn't.
Yeah, we couldn't get in the field because it's too muddy. So, man, there's pros and cons to everything we do. But I think weather-wise, we just need to be smart, be careful not to overstock the ranch. If you do, buy a lot of cattle right now, realize that probably make some of those cattle that are going to be more liquid. If you're a cow-calf guy, maybe you add a few stockers so that if you do get dry this summer, this fall, that you could liquidate those without liquidating part of that good cow herd factory you've got invested in so well.
And I get asked quite a bit, and so what Matt had to say of beware of dry weather on the way. Beware of dry weather on the way for our area.
Yep.
So I get asked quite a bit with the southern border being shut down, with cattle prices being high, with drought possibly on the way. Sounds like prices are going to hang up for a while. Should they keep females? Should they sell them all?
That's a great question. I mean, because if you a lot of people right now are selling calves and putting them in, servicing debt, getting rid of debt. I'm a big fan of working with as little debt as possible. Mm-hmm. So I can't argue with that. But at the same time, as we look at it from a long-term perspective, I bought several loads of females this spring. We're making recipient cows out of them, but I bought pairs so that I could have a coupon to clip this fall, and then next year they'll raise an embryo calf for the ranch so we can sell a bull. Mm-hmm. I thought it was the highest I've ever paid for cows, but I really believe long-term, barring some unforeseen black swan event, that those cattle should make us money. Mm-hmm. So, it's hard to sell more calves if you don't have more cows.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it. And you think about the psychology of people. Everybody's like, man, I don't want to buy cows. I remember 15, 16. I'm just going to do more stockers. Well, if you have more demand for stockers, then the price continues to go higher. But we hadn't seen the high in this market, or we hadn't seen the low in cattle numbers yet as far as cattle for feedlots, because all the economists I talked to, the rec cattle facts and so on, it doesn't look like we are keeping replacement heifers yet. When you look at number of heifers on feed, maybe just starting with the fall 23 born calves that are being weaned right now.
Gotcha.
Some of those may not be going into the feedlots. A little early to tell, but and cattle coming off wheat going into, I've got a lot of guys that are keeping heifers that they normally make feeder heifers out of, breeding them AI, and then selling them as bred heifers, or buying some bulls and selling them as bred heifers. So it'll be interesting, but bottom line, there hasn't been, when more and more of these heifers start staying at the ranch or being kept back for replacements, that's fewer cattle to bid on to fill the feed yards.
Yeah.
And then you got this Mexican border closing deal. I mean, all of that goes into it. Now people say, okay, well, what else could happen? All right, let's talk about the sky, the Chicken Little crowd where the sky is falling. All right, so here's some risks that we take. There are some packing plants that are likely going to have to cut back on hours, on the number of hours. They just don't have enough cattle to buy to keep their plant running at full capacity. Mm-hmm. If we continue to reduce numbers, there are new plants coming online. I mean, the sustainable beef plant at North Platte, Nebraska, is just soon to open, and that's a big plant that's going to come online, and there's others. The government helped subsidize that. I'm glad they did. But, man, the way the cattle inventory is going down and the packing capacity is going up, it couldn't have happened at probably a worse time for those that own the packing plant.
Yes.
So it's
now,
interesting to see that.
Did the kill plant in Amarillo? It's not online.
It's called a harvest facility. So the harvest plant, yes, get your terminology right.
Excuse me.
The harvest plant, I drove by it on Sunday. They did break ground, but producer-owned beef halted their building of their plant at Amarillo. So, which may be the best financial decision they ever made, and hopefully that will come online in a few years when the marketing is better, because cow-calf producers have the opportunity to make a lot of money right now. The leverage is on our side, but that too will change.
Yes,
and
history shows it.
The market cycles, the inventory cycles. So it'll be interesting to see where it all goes, but we don't want to lose a lot of infrastructure of packing plants closing down because there's just not enough inventory. That's one of the things we've got to keep an eye on, and hopefully those folks will be able to stay in business. But I don't want to be a packer today, because profitability in the packers for the next foreseeable future does not look good. But that's part of the packing business. They have years where they make a lot, and when they do, there's a lot of ranchers just complain and moan about how they're robbing us blind. Well, just go buy you a packing plant. Just go jump into that field. I mean, those guys, they work with sharp knives every day. You want to get in a knife fight, you just go to a packing plant and make some racial slur. You get in a knife fight with guys that knows how to use a knife pretty fast.
Yes, sir.
I would not recommend it.
No.
And I think you got to be real careful, because those guys are going to be in the red, losing significant money with every carcass they put through their plant for a period of time.
Right.
That's just part of the market. I'm thankful they got deep enough pockets to keep going, and hopeful that we don't lose some major packing plants that get shut down because there's just not enough supply. Some of that will likely happen in some of these oldest plants, but thankfully we got some new ones coming online.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
It will. All right, Tuck, I've got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Yep, turning the tables here. We talked about speaking, and you are going to be speaking at the Beef Improvement Federation coming up, which is my favorite convention of the year. If you love beef cattle genetics, you love to know more about the science behind making better cattle through genetics, then what are the dates on that? Tucker, do you remember the dates?
June 10th through the 12th.
That sounds right, in Amarillo, Texas, at the Embassy Suites and the Convention Center right there by it in Amarillo, Texas. It is the place to be. So what are you speaking on?
I'm on a panel. Talking similar things of how to grow the business, or how I view social media to grow a business, and I'll be on a panel with some others. I need to do some more studying and conversations with those others that are on the panel. But that's the morning of June 10th. There in Amarillo. I know Joe Lowe's going to be there.
Oh, that's right. I got a text from his dad today.
So that ought to be good. I remember I've heard it said that's where all the cattle nerds go.
Well, your mother went one time.
Yeah.
And yes, she thought it was the geek convention.
The geek, yes.
Yeah. It is all the data heads.
It is data heads. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's different than Beef Cattle Short Course or Oklahoma Cattlemen's Convention or Hemphill County Beef Conference or even NCBA.
Yeah.
Because it is scientific.
Yes.
It is about the science of raising better cattle.
It's cool.
If that's of interest to yours, no matter what age you are, I encourage you to go and attend, because it is really cool stuff. I got a text this morning from Dr. Gordon Jones, who's president of BIF this year, a really good producer up on the Tennessee-Kentucky line, and got a great program ahead. But, yeah, it's going to start on the 10th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with Tucker Brown at the Young Producer Program. And then there's all kinds of different things on the program. West Texas A&M, Dr. Ty Lawrence and the team in the meats program there are going to have some interesting talks to give. Beef on dairy is going to be part of the discussion, and all. You know, they're talking about right now, 1 out of every 5 calves, within 5 years, 1 out of every 5 calves harvested in the United States will be beef on dairy. Sunday made a trip to Amarillo delivering cattle and came back through and stopped by a feed yard. 100,000 head feed yard. Every one of them was a beef on dairy calf.
Was that
Angus,
there in
Sem-Angus
Panhandle?
sired on Holstein cows.
Panhandle?
Yeah. It was amazing to see all those cattle in there. There's a lot of them, and it's making better beef. But, man, I'm going to tell you, those cattle will grade, and they'll make great beef.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there as a cow-calf producer or even a stocker operator and you're not worried about quality, you've not made any genetic improvement in your herd, you better look out because, you know, the percent choice and prime is increasing at such a rapid rate. If you're not making genetic improvement, you're getting left behind, and your cattle are not going to be worth as much.
Agree.
Tucker Brown, we've been on here an hour and 5 minutes.
Yep.
Do we need to change a?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. I thought we might have to change a battery or something.
Nope.
But anyway, there's talk on sustainability. There's all kinds of stuff go to Beef Improvement Federation, look at the schedule. You can sign up. Encourage you to get signed up right away because that is a great convention if you enjoy that. And Tucker's going to be talking about the cool stuff there on that afternoon.
Where can they find more info?
Beef Improvement Federation. Just Google that,
Google that.
and it'll take you to the organization.
June 10th coming up.
June 10th,
Relatively
11th,
quick.
and 12th. Yeah, get signed up. It's the place to be.
Relatively quick. Well,
All right. Now, what have we got coming up? We've had tours coming to the ranch.
yes.
We've had Texas A&M horse tour was here yesterday. Texas A&M beef tour is going to be here on Saturday. Colby County Community College going to be here on Saturday night. Clarendon College has been here. Texas Tech had 56 students here. All kinds of tours coming through. And you've got some trips planned coming up besides Beef Improvement Federation. Am I remembering that? Are you going to Florida?
No.
Ah, okay.
No. Florida Cattlemen's Convention.
Yep. So you're going to
Not
make...
going to make that. I know.
You think Mom will go?
No.
Oh, come on. Will you please help me? Hey,
I'm
all of
trying.
you listening, please encourage Kelly Brown to go to the Florida Cattlemen's Convention in Marco Island.
Yes, you should.
About the third week of June.
22nd, 21st, something around there.
It is a blast.
Yeah, you want to know a convention that does the best job of getting people there
Yep.
and blending business with fun. Florida Cattlemen's does it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Shout out Dusty Holly.
Yeah, shout out to Dusty Holly, one of our interns from about 20 years ago. He's now
21
there.
years ago.
Yes, can you believe it?
Oh, gosh.
And our Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers summer meeting is coming up. I spoke at McGregor at the research station.
You ever been to the NCBA summer meeting?
I am not going to be able to make it to summer meeting this year, but that's another good meeting coming up in July.
Yeah, it's in San Diego.
But I do have several people coming just before and just after BIF that's going to be in Amarillo. So we're about 3.5 hours from Amarillo. So I've got some friends from New Zealand that come to that Beef Improvement Federation meeting that are come by and see us. Jason Archer and some of his friends are coming from New Zealand. I've had some people from Virginia call that want to come by and see us. If you want to come by and see R.A. Brown Ranch, call us. We would love to host you to come see us while you're in Texas for the Beef Improvement Federation, or really anytime. I mean, we stay plenty busy, but we want to try to fit in those trips every chance we get.
I'll be going to the Texas, Auctioneers Association Convention.
I didn't know that. Tell me more about that one.
Going to talk about growing a business, starting a business, growing a business, connecting with customers. So that's at the Texas Motor Speedway. That's where they're having that.
Okay.
Denton? Is that Denton or Decatur? I can't remember. Denton. Decatur. Between somewhere. It's over there. North Fort Worth.
Yeah, it's on I-35
North.
North Fort Worth.
Yeah. So that ought to be
On
fun.
that.
Wade Fisher got me hooked into there.
Great.
So what else? Later in the year, Montana Grazing Lands Coalition.
Okay.
Going to that's in September. A few in September. Going to speak up there. And then North Dakota Stock Growers. Am I missing one? Do you have one you thought I was going to?
Man, I have trouble keeping up with my own calendar.
God, me too.
I can't keep up with
Me
your
too.
calendar, too. Oh, in addition to raising 3 awesome granddaughters. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having to slow down for the summer a little bit. Just needing to stay a little closer to home. I wish that's the first
As you should.
Florida cattlemen's that I've missed.
Yeah,
since I've been
well,
back.
it's been 15 years that we have been giving away a bull sale credit.
Wow.
So we're giving away two $2,000 bull sale credits this year that we will auction as a benefit to their political action committee. So for 15 years, we've been donating bull sale credits to the Florida Cattlemen's. It's a great fundraiser because those guys need bulls. It's a way that they can buy that and write that off as a tax write-off while supporting their political action committee.
Yeah.
So all of that is really good.
You think I should have Brooke Rollins on the podcast?
I think it would be awesome to have Brooke Rollins on the podcast.
It's if we can get her on the podcast.
I would love to see Brooke
She'd be
Rollins.
fantastic, wouldn't she?
She would be wonderful. She is a super human being, a super mom, an awesome business person. Man, it was so good to see her in Fort Worth month before last, and I think she would be fabulous to have on the. I tell you who else I think would be really good on the podcast would be Red Stegall, Nolan Ryan, and how about Perini Ranch? Tom,
I've already talked to him.
you have talked to him?
Well,
You
they
hadn't
were
had
going
him on the
to-
podcast.
They were going to last week, but
Ah,
didn't work out.
okay, all right.
Didn't work out, so had to push that one back. But yes, Perini Ranch Steakhouse folks who have a cool story of being in, where were they? At the White House during 9/11.
Yeah, really cool story on that.
Yeah,
Man,
real
I'm
neat.
so sorry to hear about your barber.
You hush your mouth. You're just jealous. He doesn't like the flow. We were talking really deep, having good conversation, rancher to rancher. All right, we're gonna put cedars in here. We're gonna move these cows here. We're gonna bring them in 7 days later, and then all of a sudden, Dad stops and goes, "You grew your hair out." And I was like, "Whoa, hey, hang on, focus, focus."
It's hard to focus with it that long. Are you growing it out to be like our friend Dale Brisby?
I'm not. No, probably not. I can't do that. I'm not cowboy enough for that. I'm not cowboy enough for that. I'm not cowboy enough for that. What is ending up here? What do you know? What Grandmom's favorite verse was?
Yes. So Mom and Dad are doing well, and spent some time there yesterday. She got what was it? Day before yesterday, they got to meet your new daughter, Lila Grace. Yeah, it was so funny because Mom was so happy to hold her, and Dad was like, "Yeah, I got to hold her. She's tiny." But they are doing great, and Mom's favorite verse. It's a long one, and it's in Psalms, but I can't remember the verse. But what we did when we were building our house, and I came across some of these pictures the other day. When we were building our house and it was just framed up, we had a house blessing. And we invited friends to come and join us, and everybody got magic markers, permanent markers, and they could write whatever they wanted to on all the studs throughout the entire house.
Yeah.
And it was such a neat deal. But Mom, she had hers, and it's right above the big glass pane window that looks out over the lake in front of our house. And man, and she has it memorized.
I kind of put you on the spot here.
I know you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think, and of course now it's covered up with sheetrock. But what's neat is we can't see those now, but they're there, and on the studs in our house. But we still have unfinished areas in our attic. And so it's neat because we've had a few friends come by after the house was built that wanted to give a blessing to our home. And they've written things on there the other day. And so I was noticing Lizzie Smith.
Oh, yeah.
She had one on there the other day. It was a John Wayne quote, get back on and ride. Courage is getting back on.
Getting bucked off, but having the courage to get back on it.
It was something like that, yeah. And, we got to see Lizzie. I don't know if I told you last week, but Lizzie had a debilitating accident and is in a wheelchair now, and it's the first time I'd seen her since her accident. But man, she was just grinning from ear to ear, and I was really proud of her. She's able to be back home with her folks and work on a skid steer, and she can go from her wheelchair to the skid steer and clear brush all day, every day, takes her lunch with her, and just amazing story of comeback for a beautiful young lady, Lizzie Smith, that came and worked as an intern for our family here a few years ago.
Well, that's good.
What's your favorite verse?
My favorite verse. I don't know. Right now it's the. Well, now back to I think I have pregnancy brain. Also in Psalms, Proverbs, I have pregnancy. I need some sleep. But I have it written down on my mirror of the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory comes from the Lord. I think it just reminds me every morning is like, all right, I got to prepare the horse, got to prepare myself, got to prepare my family, but nothing makes me feel more. There's a lot of times where I feel in control of what's going on, mentally, physically, but having your wife having a child, I have zero clue or help there.
Right.
But there was, one deal where doctors had to come in and check on Carly, and there's nothing I could do. And so the verse that's been in my head lately is the one that says, worry about nothing but pray about everything. Mm-hmm. And that was just coming to my mind, the whole time I was in there, and where it's at in the Bible. I don't know the exact verse, but that one's been in my head most recently. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's the best advice you've ever received? Outside of Scripture, outside of the Bible.
There's two I like. One comes from Blaine Davis.
Oh, really? Your old coach?
Old basketball coach.
Now financial advisor.
Yeah. He said instead of praying for a lighter load to carry, pray for broader shoulders to carry the load.
Love it.
And so not in the Bible, probably could be in a sermon somewhere, but it is not in the Bible. But I love that one. And then the one you always say of don't let what you want cause you to use bad judgment.
That's mine.
I know I stole it.
You steal that from me all the time.
I do not.
Yes, and your talk at Cattle Racer, you stole some of my slides. By the way, no, you did a good job with that. I was very proud of you. But I saw one of my original slides
Which one?
at Hemphill County Beef Conference with another producer, and that's why I hesitate to ever share my slides, because I'm like, those are my originals. I don't want somebody else using my originals.
Which one was it?
I can't tell you.
Off air?
A lot of trails lead to the watering hole, but we got to remember the main objective is to get a drink.
Ooh.
A lot of different ways
I don't
to
remember
do
that
things. A lot of different ways to do things. Rancher's Sustainable Angus is one of those ways, and we are excited about that. That's what I'm most excited about right now, and I'm thankful. I will say the Hemphill County Beef Conference is great because of what a faith influence it has. I mean, they have meals. They have prayers before every meal. They start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem and a blessing over the day. It is an awesome conference.
It is good. You should go next year.
Yep.
Because I hope I don't miss it next year. I love that one.
Tuesday and Wednesday of April.
I love that one. Well, thanks, Dad. Always great to have you on the podcast. Always great. Episode 33. Knocked down. More to come. I got big plans. Good people. There's two good stories out there for them not to be told. Two good of them. You've been listening to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Check us out on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, all the fun things. Even got merch at registeredranching.com. But there's a couple things that you can't forget, folks. One, stay classy. Two, ranch on them. That's all you got to do. Stay classy and ranch on them. God bless, folks. We love you.